إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أحسن الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإن شر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. So in the previous lesson we started another section. Imam al-Tahaawiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he moved on to a discussion of the signs of the hour, ashratu sa'a. And he stated that we believe in the signs of the hour from the emergence of the Dajjal and the descent of Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam from the heaven, and we believe in the rising of the sun from the west, and we believe in the appearance of the beast from the earth, from its place. And so in the previous lesson we looked at the commentary of Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan, Sheikh Salih al-Sheikh. Briefly we looked at the definition of a sign, the word ashrat and its singular form. We looked at the different types of signs. The scholars divided them into the minor signs and the major signs. And from the major signs, Imam al-Tahawi mentions 4 of them in this particular passage. So we're going to continue from where we left off in the previous lesson. We basically just discussed the meaning of the word ashrat and its singular and the division of the different types. So al-Tahawi, he actually mentioned 4 specific major signs. And those 4 major signs is the khuruj al-Dajjal, the appearance of the Dajjal, the descent of Isa ibn Maryam, the appearance of the beast, al-Dabba, and the rising of the sun, or the approach of the sun from the west. And in this lesson, really, what the rest of what we have is we're going to basically just describe these events pretty much in the sequence in which they will take place. So these 10 are normally arranged in the following. The 10 signs are arranged in the following order. First of all, Ad-Dajjal will appear. So this will be the first major sign of Yawm al-Qiyamah. And also, just another point that we mentioned in the previous lesson, we said that these are from the affairs of the unseen, and they are connected to belief in the final hour. The establishment, Yawm al-Qiyamah, the establishment of the hour. And everything that leads up to it from the signs, which are from the affairs of the unseen, they are part and parcel of believing in the final hour. So they enter under the 6 pillars of Iman. So the first major sign then is the appearance of Ad-Dajjal. After that sign will be the descent of Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam from the heaven. After that, the third one will be the appearance of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, the tribes of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. The 4th, 5th and 6th signs, according to Sheikh Salih al-Sheikh, is that there will be 3 major earthquakes. There will be one in the east, there will be one in the west, and there will be one in the peninsula, in the Arabian Peninsula. Right, so that is 4, 5 and 6. Then after that, there will be the sun will rise from the west instead of the east. And after that, there will be the beast that will appear, and after that, number 9, there will be the smoke, ad-dukhan, the smoke that will envelope everybody. And after that, the final major sign will be that there will emerge a fire, a huge fire. It will come from a certain place in Aden, and it will spread, and it will drive the people in a place, and that place will, after that, then there will be the blowing of the trumpet, meaning sometime after that there will be the blowing of the trumpet, meaning to signify the establishment of the hour. So these are the way that the Shaykh has presented the 10 major signs. And in what follows in the rest of this lesson is pretty much just going through each of these signs and explaining a few details about each of these signs. So the first major sign then is the appearance of the Dajjal. There are many texts which have come mentioning the Dajjal, and the word Dajjal, it means one who is an extreme liar, one whose lies and trickery and deception is great. And so this Dajjal, he will appear after having been restrained or in chains. Allah Azza wa Jal, He will allow him to traverse the earth. He will release him, allow him to traverse the earth. And he's a human. He's a human from the species of humankind. But there are some signs, physical signs, that he has been described with. From them is that he will have he will have an eye that is like it's impaired. It's like a floating grape. And there will be written between his forehead, Kaf, Fa, Ra, and every believer will be able to read it. And Allah Azza wa Jal will give him certain abilities and powers which will confuse and bewilder even the intelligent people, even smart, intelligent people of insight, people of understanding. They will become bewildered and confused by some of the things that he will do because of the powers that Allah Azza wa Jal will give him. And eventually he will claim to be Allah himself. He will claim that I am your Lord. He will claim to be the people's Lord. He will say, Inni Rabbakum. That is, he will claim to be the deity. And he will try to assume the right which belongs only to Allah Azza wa Jal. So he will also have with him a paradise and hellfire, something that appears to be paradise, something that appears to be fire. And he will put the people to trial by way of this. And there are many other things that are mentioned in the ahadith. The ahadith regarding him are very many details, that how he will make treasures to come out of the earth, and all these other things that he will do, the manner in which he will travel, and so on and so forth. But he will remain upon the earth for 40. The scholars say that one day is like a year, and one day is like a month, and one day is like a week, and the rest are normal days. His trial and tribulation will be the greatest tribulation to have occurred upon the earth, because he will claim that he is Rabbul Alameen. He will claim that he is the Lord of the worlds. And as I said, he will have the ability to reward with what appears to be a garden, and to punish with what appears to be fire. And he will revive the dead, as is mentioned. A youth will come. In fact, before that, he will be prohibited from entering Makkah and Medina, because they will be guarded by angels. And a youth will come to him, and Dajjal will say to him, I'm your Lord. And the youth will say to him, you are the Dajjal, you are the liar that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he informed us about. And so then Dajjal will say to the people that I'm going to kill this youth, and I'm going to bring him back to life. So he will kill him, and then he will bring him back to life. And then that youth will speak again, and he will say that I am now even more convinced I am now even more convinced that you are the Dajjal, that you are the liar. And this youth will be from the best of the people upon the earth on that day. And Dajjal himself will appear at a time when he will no longer be mentioned upon the earth. And we find that the Messenger of Allah, he mentioned that there was no prophet who preceded, except that he warned his nation from the trial of the Dajjal. So every prophet actually warned his people against him. And for that reason, we see that it is from those things which are very highly emphasized, strongly emphasized, that a person seek refuge from the trial of Ad-Dajjal when he's in the grave. From the tribulation of the grave, from the tribulation of life and death, and likewise from the tribulation of Ad-Dajjal. And all of this is whilst obviously at the end of his prayer. It is a strongly emphasized aspect of the prayer. Some scholars consider it to be wajib because it was commanded, and so he seeks refuge of these things, from the punishment of the grave, from the trial of life and death, and from the tribulation of Masih ad-Dajjal. Okay, so now there's a number of points that the Shaykh makes. There are a number of points. The first of those points is that Al-Masih ad-Dajjal was not alive in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And as for those hadiths which have come that mention that he was alive, for example, the hadith of Ibn Sayyad, because Ibn Sayyad was a youth and it was thought that he was perhaps the Dajjal. Right? So therefore that would imply that Dajjal was alive in the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. And likewise the other hadith of Tamim ad-Dari, where he was restrained in a particular island in a certain place, where some of the Sahaba went and they saw him and they mentioned the story to the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. The Shaykh says that all of this does not indicate necessarily that he himself, Dajjal, was actually present in that time, and that from that time he will remain up until the time that he will come out. What he says, that all we see in the story of Tamim ad-Dari was merely that a man was tied up. There was a man who was tied up, and that he asked certain questions. And this is the hadith which is in Sahih Muslim. Some of the scholars said that this hadith is shadh. It is something which contradicts other hadith. It is obscure. And others said that basically this is just simply a sign that this man, that he came out. This is just simply a sign that Allah Azza wa Jal made as a sign of the truthfulness of the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and that he will not continue to live from that time up until he actually emerges till the end of time. So in other words, he was brought out as a sign, and then not that he will continuously live from that time for however many years, hundreds of years, and then appear then. So the point being, the Shaykh is explaining that Dajjal is a human being. He will be created at a specific time when Allah wills for him to be created. Then he will emerge. He will give him permission to appear and emerge from a certain place that he will be in. And this is the first point. The second point is that Dajjal will appear after the appearance of Al-Mahdi. Now Al-Mahdi, the appearance of the Mahdi itself is not from the major signs. The appearance of the Mahdi, this rightly guided leader from the offspring, from the genealogy of Muhammad ﷺ, he's not a major sign. He's not from the major signs. And the Mahdi will, in the narrations, we see that the Mahdi, he will, in the hadith it mentioned that Allah Azza wa Jal will yuslihuhu fi laylatin, that overnight he will basically, the meaning is that he will make him fit for leadership. That's the meaning, that's the Shaykh explains the meaning of that hadith. That overnight he will make him fit for leadership. He will come to Mecca at a time when there's differing amongst the people, and the people will not have any amir, they won't have any imam, they won't have any leader, the Muslims in general. And he will come to the Kaaba, he will come to the Haram, and he will seek refuge in the Kaaba. And the people will then come to him, and they will order him, they will say, look, we'll give you pledge of allegiance, become the leader, come out. So Allah, in the hadith it mentions, يُصْلِحُهُ اللَّهُ فِي لَيْلَةٍ, meaning, the scholars have differed about the meaning, but the most apparent and correct meaning is that Allah Azza wa Jal, He will make him befitting for leadership overnight. And he himself will be from the offspring of Al-Hasan bin Ali bin Abi Talib. And his name will be Muhammad bin Abdullah. Muhammad bin Abdullah. Now there are many ahadiths regarding him, perhaps 40 or so. Many of them are authentic, some of them sahih, some of them are hasan, some of them are da'if, many of them are da'if. But as a whole, these ahadiths amount to that which is mutawatir in meaning. And that's why the people of knowledge, they said the ahadith pertaining to the Mahdi, they reach the level of at-tawatur al-ma'nawi, they are mutawatir, meaning large-scale transmission in terms of the meaning. And in the story of the Mahdi, what will happen is that in that time, the Mahdi will obviously become the leader, and there will be battles and wars, and there will be conquests. And on one particular occasion, after a conquest, they will be coming back to the land of Syria and the Sham, and it will be announced that the Dajjal has appeared amongst you. And that will be a false call. And after that, Dajjal will actually appear towards, in the eastern region, which is in the region where we have like Iran, Isfahan, that kind of region. He will come from that direction. So the fitna of the Dajjal will become great, will become widespread, and Isa alayhi salam will then descend, and he will descend in Damascus. And he will descend by the white minaret of the mosque in Damascus, the Umayyad, the mosque that was built by the Umayyads. We see in the hadith, أنه ينزل عند المنارة البيضاء في شرقي دمشق. He will descend by the white minaret in the east of Damascus. Then he will catch up with Ad-Dajjal at the gate of Lud. At the gate of Lud, and he will kill him therein. The gate of Lud refers to one of the, it's in Jerusalem, and it's one of the entrances towards Bayt al-Maqdis, so one of the avenues that leads towards it. So the Shaykh mentions that this hadith was before the Umayyads even built the mosque, the white mosque. In Damascus, there is a white mosque which has a number of white minarets. It's white in appearance. And the Shaykh says that this is an indication of the truthfulness of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So he will descend. So when Isa alayhi salam descends, this now is the second major sign of the approach of the hour. The second major sign. Remember, the Mahdi is not from the major signs. Rather, the Mahdi is just, the precursor towards the events that will lead to the appearance of a Dajjal and then Isa alayhi salam. Now, as for the descent of Isa alayhi salam, we see that it is mentioned in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in Surah An-Nisa, Surah 4, verse 159, وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يَكُونُ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا. There is none from the people of the book except that they will believe in him before his death. And on the day of judgment, he will be a witness over them. And likewise in the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, يُوشِكُ أَن يَنزِلَ فِيكُمْ Isa ibn Maryam hakaman adlan muqsitan, that Isa ibn Maryam is about to descend amongst you as a just, like a hakam, like a judge, a just one, and he will break the cross, he will kill the swine, and he will abolish the jizya, and he will spread wealth in his time until no one will accept it, meaning that wealth will become so widespread and everyone will be, that no one will be accepting the wealth when it is given in charity. And all of the Ahlul Kitab, the people of the book, will believe in him. So Abu Hurairah then, when he narrated this hadith, he then said, read if you wish. Then he mentioned this verse, وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ. There is none from the people of the book except that he will believe in him before his death. Now regarding this statement, قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ, there is none from the people of the book except that he will believe in him before his death. Whose death is it referring to? Is it referring to the one from the Ahlul Kitab, or is it referring to Isa alayhi salam himself? Which of the two is it referring to? Right, so when the ayah says, there is none from the people of the book, meaning a Jew or a Christian, except that he will believe in Isa before his death. Whose death? The one from the Ahlul Kitab or Isa alayhi salam? And there are two views. Some say that it is the first one, meaning that when Isa alayhi salam he descends, then there will be no Jew or Christian except that he will believe in Isa before this individual from Ahlul Kitab, before he dies. But the other view, which is the most correct view, what is said by most of the people of knowledge, is that it refers to the death of Isa alayhi salam. Because the context of the verse is very, very clear in that regard. وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ. There is none from the people of the book except that they will believe in him, meaning Isa ibn Maryam, قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ, meaning the death of Isa ibn Maryam. So the verse is very clear in what it actually means. And we see also in another surah, Surah Al-Zukhruf, Surah 43, verse number 61, وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ فَلَا تَمْتَرُنَّ بِهَا. And indeed he, meaning Isa alayhi salam, he is knowledge for the hour. And in another narration, in another recitation, another reading, وَإِنَّهُ لَعَلَمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ, which means that he is a sign for the hour. So we see that these two verses in the Quran, they establish that Isa alayhi salam is a sign, clearly a sign from the signs of the Day of Judgment. Now, when Abu Hurairah, the hadith which he related that we just heard, when Abu Hurairah, when he related this hadith, the person to whom he narrated it to, he said to him that if you meet Isa alayhi salam, then convey my salam to him. And then that person who narrated the hadith from Abu Hurairah, when he narrated to the one who came after him, he likewise said to the one who he was narrating to, that if you meet Isa alayhi salam, then convey my salam to him. And this is obviously because of the very strong belief that they had in the truthfulness of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because they believed in him firmly, that he does not speak from his desire, but he speaks nothing but the truth. So out of conviction in the descent of Isa alayhi salam and its approach, this is why they requested that the narrator convey the salam to Isa alayhi salam. So Isa alayhi salam, he will then descend at a time when Dajjal will have caused fitna, tribulation upon the earth. Many people will be put to trial by him. They will believe in him. He will lead them to disbelief. And as we know that he will eventually chase him and kill him by the gate of Lud in Jerusalem. And his fitna will then come to an end. But then Isa alayhi salam, he will judge and rule over the Muslims. And in his time there will be another tribulation, and this is when the next major sign will appear, and this is the tribulation of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Ya'juj and Ma'juj. And they have been mentioned in the Quran in two places. In English they are referred to as Gog and Magog, and they mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf, which is the 18th surah, verse number 96 and 97. حتى إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كل حدب ينسلون واقترب الوعد الحق. Until when Ya'juj and Ma'juj are opened, meaning unleashed, and they will descend, they will come from every direction, from every valley. And the promise, the true promise will have come close, will have come near, meaning Yawm al-Qiyamah. So this is a clear indication in the Quran that they are a sign of the approach of the hour, and hence they are a sign from the major signs of the Day of Judgment. That's proof in the Quran. And likewise in Surah Al-Kahf, earlier in Surah 90, in verse number 94, إِنَّ يَعْجُوجَ وَمَعْجُوجَ مُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ فهل نجعل لك خرجا على أن تجعل بيننا وبينهم سدا. This is when the people said to Dhul Qarnayn, indeed Ya'juj and Ma'juj create corruption upon the earth, so shall we give you something so that you make for us a barrier between us and between them. So these verses, the two verses together, they indicate first of all that Ya'juj and Ma'juj are actually present today. They are present. And they were present before that as well. Right? So they were present as people, as tribes before that, before the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, and they are present now. And they are a large group of people, of certain tribes, and their affair will become very severe and great towards the establishment of the hour. And the second benefit is that they will come from every direction. وَهُمْ مِنْ كُلِّ حَدَبٍ يَنْسِلُونَ. Al-hadab means direction, al-jiha. So from every direction they will come, they will descend. And nasal, yansilun, is from nasalan, which means that when a person comes in night time, when someone travels in a journey through night time. So they will come from a certain direction, they will come and they will come to a lake, and they will drink from this lake. And this lake is towards its Lake Tiberias, or it is towards Jerusalem, and they will drink from this water, from this lake, and they will by the time the last one of them finished, it will have dried up. And Isa alayhi salam will retreat, because this army this group of people will be too big, too huge, too mighty. And so Isa alayhi salam, along with the believers, will be forced to retreat into the mountains. And Isa alayhi salam will make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. They will make dua, and Allah Azza wa Jal will send upon them something, send upon them like a parasite or something of that nature, and they will perish. Their bodies will, they will die, and the bodies will rot upon the earth. Then Allah Azza wa Jal, He will send a rih, like a gale or a wind or a force, or birds, tuyur, and they will carry them and dump them in the ocean. So this is now the third major sign, Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Now after the third major sign, there will be 3 major earthquakes, and each of them is considered a sign in itself. So we have 4, 5, and 6. A major earthquake in the east, a major earthquake in the west, and a major earthquake in the Arab Peninsula. So these earthquakes will be such that there's nothing that has ever been witnessed like them before, meaning that the scale and the magnitude of these earthquakes will be very, very, very severe. And these will be from the great signs of Allah Azza wa Jal. We know that earthquakes are from the signs of Allah Azza wa Jal, in the sense that He puts people to trial, He punishes people by way of earthquakes, they get swallowed by the earth. But these particular signs, there will not be any equal or likeness to them in what has preceded. Meaning that they will be on a very, very, very huge scale. One in the east, one in the west, and one in the peninsula. And obviously, khasaf, this earthquake, is known that a part of the earth will fall and it will, turn. It will, the earth will basically fall and another earth will, cover it. This is what tends to happen, where, if you look at earthquakes, one part of the earth goes underneath and another part kind of covers it, so a person essentially gets swallowed by the earth. So after this, after 4, 5, and 6, 3 major earthquakes, there will be the next sign, and this will be the rising of the sun in the west. And obviously, between that time, sometime after Ya'juj and Ma'juj have perished, Isa alayhi salam, he will also pass away. He will live, he will marry, he will, destroy the cross, he will kill the swine, he will abolish jizya, and so on and so forth, until everyone becomes a believer. But after that, there will be these signs, earthquakes, and then the rising of the sun from the west. And that is mentioned or is indicated in the Quran. يَوْمَ يَأْتِي بَعْضُ آيَاتِ رَبِّكَ لَا يَنْفَعُ نَفْسًا إِيمَانُهَا لَمْ تَكُنْ آمَنَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَوْ كَسَبَتْ فِي إِيمَانِهَا خَيْرًا. In this ayah, Surah Al-An'am, Surah 6, verse 158, the day on which some of the signs of your Lord will come, then no soul will benefit from its faith that had not previously believed or that had not previously earned some good out of its faith. So this means that tawbah, repentance for anyone, will always continue up until so long as the sun does not rise from the west. As soon as that sign appears, then if you hadn't already believed before, then your iman will be of no benefit. If you then say, okay, now I believe, now I can see, then this will be of no benefit to you. Rather, you must have had iman and benefited from your iman prior to that. So this is a sign that will appear. It's something outside of what we are normally accustomed to seeing. The sun rises from the east, it goes and sets towards the west, and then it comes again and repeats this. But in this case, it will rise from the west, and it will be a great and mighty sign of Allah Azza wa Jal, and it will make all the people believe. So after the sun rises, there will be different categories of people. There will be, first of all, those who are already believers. They were already believers beforehand, before the rising of the sun from the west. And likewise, there will be munafiqun, there will be hypocrites, there will be kafirun, there will be disbelievers, and there will be mushrikun. But as soon as the sun rises from the west, then having faith in that time will be of no benefit to anybody. Rather, you must have already had iman, and likewise benefited. You must have earned some deeds through that iman. Otherwise, it is of no benefit. So this is the sun rising from the west. And obviously, once the sun rises, you know that there will be believers, and there will be, other than the true believers. And this will then lead to the next sign, and this will be sign number 8. So the sun was number 7. And sign number 8 will be the dabba. The dabba is the beast from the earth, a large beast that Allah Azza wa Jal has created, and Allah Azza wa Jal will give this beast the ability to mark people, put a sign on them. It's mentioned in the Quran in Surah An-Naml, Surah 27, verse number 82. وَإِذَا وَقَعَ الْقَوْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ أَخْرَجْنَا لَهُمْ دَابَّةً مِّنَ الْأَرْضِ تُكَلِّمُهُمْ أَنَّ النَّاسَ كَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا لَا يُوقِنُونَ. And when the word befalls them, we shall bring out for them a beast from the earth that will speak to them in that the people did not used to have conviction, have faith, have certainty in our signs. So, now, if we look at this verse, at the beginning it says, وَإِذَا وَقَعَ الْقَوْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ, when the word is established against them. This is a reference to the sun rising from the west. Right? So in other words, after the sun has risen from the west, and now the proof, the word, the truth has been established against them, because now all of them believe. Now they have seen clearly, how can this sun just rise from the west and oppose what it has been doing for thousands and thousands of years? And now they are convinced. Now the word has been established against them. وَإِذَا وَقَعَ الْقَوْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ, then أَخْرَجْنَا لَهُمْ دَابَةً مِنَ الْأَرْضِ, then we shall bring out for them a beast from the earth that will speak to them. So this shows, this establishes the order that the sun rising from the west will appear first, and then the beast will come afterwards. So as for the ayah, it says تُكَلِّمُهُمْ, it will speak to them. In another reading, in another qira'ah, it says تَكْلِمُهُمْ. And this other reading, تَكْلِمُهُمْ, this word, it refers to it refers to like a wound. When you are wounded, for example, you have a cut, for example, or a wound, and it leaves a mark, right? So the word, the second meaning is of that nature. So the first meaning, tukallimuhum, means to speak to them. The beast will speak to them, and it will do that. And second meaning is that it will leave a mark on them, right? So that's another qira'ah, another reading of the verse. So both those meanings are incorporated in the various readings of the verse. So we see that this beast will then mark the people in the sense that this one is a believer and this one is a disbeliever. Meaning that this was a believer because this believer believed before the rising of the sun from the west, because their faith is accepted. And after the rising of the sun from the west, it will not benefit anybody. Right? So the munafiq, the hypocrite, the disbeliever, all of them, it will label them appropriately. So this now is the 8th sign. Sign number 8. Now after this, there will be a wind that Allah Azza wa Jal will send, and this wind will take the souls of all of the people of Iman. So all of the people of Iman that remain after the rising of the sun from the west, then their souls will be taken. And therefore there will only be left the people of nifaq, and the people of kufr, and the people of shirk. Right? Only those people will be left upon the earth, and they will behave upon the earth, meaning now because all of the people of Iman have been taken, then no one but the people of disbelief and hypocrisy and shirk will be left. And so therefore the mention of Allah Azza wa Jal will disappear from the earth, and these people will live like animals, like donkeys. We see in the hadith, the hour will not be established فَلَا يُقَالُ فِي الْأَرْضِ Allah, Allah, until it is no longer said upon the earth, Allah, Allah. But the wind is not from the 10 signs, by the way. The wind is not from the 10 signs, right? But this will happen after the 8th sign, which is the beast. Now the 9th sign after this will then be a dukhan. A dukhan is the mist or the smoke, and the scholars explain that this actually occurred once previously, what is referred to in Surah Ad-Dukhan. But this is not the ayah that is being referred to. This is not the sign that is being referred to. Rather, this sign will appear towards the end, towards the establishment of the hour. So this dukhan will come, it will envelope all of the people, it will cover them, and it will make it very difficult for them, for the people to basically go about their affairs. And so this is clearly referring to the dukhan towards the end of time. Now after this, after the smoke comes and envelopes the people, then there will be the final sign, and this final sign is a fire that will emanate from the south of the Arabian Peninsula in a region called Aden, which is like in Yemen, and it will begin there, and it will spread, and the people will flee from it, and it will lead them to a particular place on the earth, and the people will gather together in a certain place, and then sometime after that, there will be the blowing of the trumpet, the first blowing of the trumpet, and nafkhatul ula, and this is when the people will swoon and die and perish, and there will be a period of 40. We don't know what that 40 is. Is it 40 days? Is it 40 years? We don't know. But it says there will be a period of 40. And then after that will be the next blowing of the trumpet. And so this basically ends all of the events up until the establishment of the hour, in that order. So now there are a number of issues that we need to quickly touch upon in relation to what we've mentioned so far. And first point is that a lot has been written about the signs of the hour. Many books have been written, and the scholars have spoken about the signs of the hour. They've collected the minor signs, hundreds of them. They spoke about the major signs, and on the bulk of it, they've gathered that which is correct, even though there are some things which, minor things in which there are probably some errors or things which are not established upon authentic reports. But on the whole, we see that the people of knowledge have gathered all of that together. And hence we have to be careful that because it relates to a matter of the unseen, that we always speak about it on the basis of sound, authentic narrations. And also the second thing is that our position towards these texts is that we make taslim, we submit to them, we believe in them, and we don't start trying to make allegorical explanations. We don't try to give, we twist the meanings and to give them interpretations which are allegorical. Because these are matters of the unseen, and we accept these texts exactly as they have come, and we believe in the details that have been mentioned. We don't start making, interpretations, interpolations, making allegorical explanations, relying upon our opinion, relying upon our intellect, or even affirming and denying on the basis of our intellect, saying, well, this doesn't make sense to me. How can Dajjal, how can he revive someone from the dead, and how can he have a paradise and hellfire? I can't believe that, I can't accept that. It doesn't make sense. Or maybe it means this, maybe it means that. All of this is something that we do not enter into. Rather, we make taslim to that which has been related. So basically the point being that we don't start delving with our intellects into these affairs. We believe in that which is authentic. We have faith in it. And, we don't start making these kind of interpretations. The second point that we should note as well, after this, is that Isa alayhi salam, when he descends, he will be following the legislation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it will be wajib upon anyone who is alive to believe in him. And for that reason, when Isa alayhi salam, when he descends, he will see that the Muslims are praying, and the Muslims will invite him to go forward, and he will decline. He will say, no, your Imam is amongst you. So this shows that Isa alayhi salam will be following the legislation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is actually from the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's from the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when he descends, he will judge by the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, the sunnah of the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And also, interestingly, is that the definition of a Sahabi applies to him. Right? So not only is he from this ummah, but he's also technically considered to be from amongst the Sahaba. Why is that? Because he saw the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the night of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. So because he saw him, remember the definition of a Sahabi is the one who met the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam whilst believing in him, and he died upon that. And Isa alayhi salam, he meets those conditions because he met the messenger of Allah on Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. He believed in him and he will die upon that. So therefore the definition of a Sahabi applies to him. And for that reason, some of the people of knowledge, because of this, they have hinted at something, and they have said, they've asked the question, who is the most superior in the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam after the messenger himself? And so some of them they've indicated on account of this that it is Isa alayhi salam, because technically he is from this ummah, and also because he is a Rasul, he is a messenger, he is from the Ulil Azm, he is from the most resolute and firmly determined of messengers. He's also from the believers in the messenger, he's also from the followers of the messenger, he's also a companion according to that definition, technically speaking. So some of the people in knowledge have hinted that, perhaps Isa alayhi salam is, the most superior from these considerations. But that's some people of knowledge. Not everybody has made that hint or that indication to that. The next point is the issue of when people start to claim that this knowledge has appeared, that this sign of the hour has appeared, and this sign of the hour has appeared, meaning they start interpreting the signs of the hour, and they start interpreting some of the minor signs, and say, well, this one has now appeared, and that one has now appeared, and that one has now appeared. And so what about this issue where people start to make these explanations and claim that this sign has now appeared? And we find that people have written books on this as well, and Sheikh says that there are certain signs where it is very clear, very apparent that it agrees completely with the text of the Quran or the Sunnah. So for example, the coming of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is clearly a sign, right, that he came as a prophet. That's gone and done. Or the splitting of the moon, or the death of the Prophet ﷺ, or when certain plagues appeared, because the Messenger ﷺ, he mentioned certain plagues, like 2 deaths that will appear, and so some plagues, they came in the 18th year after Hijrah, and likewise the fire, there was a fire that occurred that people saw that was so huge that they managed to see that in Basra, they managed to see the necks of the camels being illuminated because of the fire was so great and to distant that they saw the necks of camels being illuminated. This actually occurred about 6, 7, I'm not sure exactly when, but it happened sometime after, some centuries after the era of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that occurred as well. So these kind of examples are very, very clear examples, right? Where we can clearly say there's no ambiguity, it's very clear, it's very apparent that this text applies to this occurrence, right? This is very clear. But then there are other things, many other things where people try to say, well, this thing refers to this text. And it's quite ambiguous. It's quite ambiguous and it's not really clear whether that is the case or not. And so this now really brings us to the question, well, what is the purpose of these texts that mention the signs of the hour, and how should we behave towards them? And the answer is that really there's 2 reasons why in the Sharia, in the legislation, these signs have been mentioned. Number 1, first of all, that we believe in them. We have faith in them. To have iman in them. That's one reason. And the second reason is that they are a proof of the prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? These are the two reasons. These signs were not mentioned so that, Abdullah, Zayd and so-and-so can start now making interpretations and applying this verse to that occurrence and this hadith to that occurrence. No, they're not there to start making these kind of correlations. They're not from the primary reasons as to why this is mentioned. There's only two reasons: to have iman in them, because they are true and real, and also because they prove and establish one of the many angles of proving the truthfulness of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we find that as for the signs in and of themselves, they are not a proof for something being praiseworthy or blameworthy, as we mentioned in the previous lesson, in the previous discussion. That just because something is a sign, that in itself does not make it, like for example, halal or haram or blameworthy or praiseworthy. Right? These are just merely descriptions of things that are to take place. So for example, we see that there are certain things, the last hour will not be established until the people start competing in the building of mosques. Right? Now, does this mean that competing in the building of mosques is unlawful and is blameworthy? No. The answer is no. This is just merely a description. It is a khabar, a description of what is to take place. It does not mean that it's unlawful or blameworthy in any sense, in and of itself. Likewise, in the hadith of Jibreel, where we'll see the Bedouins, who are naked, and the sheep herders, the Bedouins, competing to build the buildings. All of this does not really indicate, that this thing is blameworthy in itself. So, the point that the Shaykh is making here then is that we really have two main reasons. First of all, the people are tested to see whether they will believe in them or not. Right? Because there are certain people who deny, for example, the Dajjal. They deny the Mahdi, for example. For example, Maududi, he denied the hadiths of Dajjal. Because, so many years have come and they have so many centuries have passed and nothing of the sort has happened, right? So people have their own reasons why they deny. So first one is in order to test the people to see if they will believe in them or not, right? Because these things are to be believed in. That's number one. Secondly, because they are from the dala'il of the nubuwwah, they are from the signs and evidences of the prophethood of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But then the Shaykh finishes by saying that there are numerous books which have been written on this topic. There's the Ibn Kathir mentions a section in his Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya that's been, I think, translated, published in English, Signs of the Hour. Also, there are certain other books. He mentions a book by Ashrat wa Sa'a by Yusuf Al-Wabi, that's a good book. Another one by Sheikh Al-Allama Hamoud bin Abdullah Al-Tuwajri, Ittihaf Al-Jama'ah بما جاء في الفتن والملاهم وأشراط الساعة. So there are numerous authentic, reputable books that a person can go back to and refer to for all of the details in that regard. So this concludes our discussion of the major signs of the hour. We believe in them. It is from our iman to believe in them. And this now leads to the next sentence. And the sentence is وَلَا نُصَدِّقُ كَاهِنًا وَلَا عَرَّافًا وَلَا مَنْ يَدَّعِي شَيْئًا يُخَالِفُ الْكِتَابُ وَالسُّنَّةِ وَإِجْمَاعَ الْأُمَّةِ. We do not believe in a soothsayer, fortune teller, or a diviner, nor the one who claims anything that opposes the book and the sunnah and the consensus of the nation. And so inshallah ta'ala we will leave that for the next lesson, inshallah ta'ala. We'll discuss that text in the next lesson. So that we'll conclude today's lesson. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.